Hey guys, welcome. Second video in a week. That does not happen often. I am trying to find the best formula for shooting videos that does not take a month of my time, cause I ain't got enough of it. You know how it is, capitalism. You have to work most of the time and then you die. Anyway, new playlist, it is called Cheap Bastards, and it is closely related to a little branch of my professional expertise, making the most with less close to nothing. Budget is usually determined once a year, and I do not like to overspend. You know what they say, if you need to spend over your budget, it is a bad budget. Bosses are not happy, shareholders are not happy cause less money for them, and this leads to spanked bottoms. So, episode 1, it will be a ultra cheap dumpster powered Hadoop DataNode. A DataNode stores data in the Hadoop file system, that's HDFS. A functional file system has more than one data node, and data is replicated across them because data nodes can talk to each other. That means that there is usually no need to use hardware or software write storage for DataNode data because the data is designed to be replicated across multiple servers rather than multiple disks on the same server. In my case, there will be software write 0, write 1 and write 10 because I want to run a container and squeeze the machine's juice to the maximum until it explodes in a big fireball, and B, I want the hard drives to perform faster. Why and how on RAID arrays later in this video. Back on Hadoop, client applications can talk directly to a data node once the name node has provided the location of the data. Depending on the Hadoop version, there will be either a task tracker or a node manager. For both, it is a good practice to install them close to the data node, even better on the same server as the data node, so all operations are performed closer to the data as possible. That said, both are CPU dependent, and in my case, unfortunately, I am short on CPU threads, only 2 actually, because the CPU is a Pentium G3258. That's the 20 years anniversary edition. But this will be for a testing environment. Always use a proper hardware for production to avoid problems. Anyway, this is so super cheap that nothing else matters. It will make it up for the spendings in a matter of days, if not hours. And being an anniversary edition, we will overclock it, cause we can. To accommodate all this open source, mostly free goodness, I will need this cheap hardware that I will put in this ultra mega lame cheap case that has this ultra giga shitty power supply that is rated at 700 watts. I will also put 4 of my 6 drives in this 5.25 to 4 2.5 inch drives caddy that has its own cooling fan in the front. But there is a problem, not enough SATA power connectors on this hideous power supply. I will solder 4 SATA power connectors to a single Molex connector and then we'll repeat the same operation once more. I could solder those connectors directly to the power supply, but that way it will be harder to swap it when it dies. Yeah, just using my all-time favorite soldering temperature of 360 degrees Celsius. I will of course insulate everything with a thermal hose. Hard drives, 6 of them, got 8 from the dumpster, 6 of them are working without issues, 4 of those 6 are with Apple firmware, 3 Hitachis and 1 Seagate. I will group them in a way to minimize the risk of simultaneous failure of 2 drives in a mirror array of 2 by not using 2 drives by one manufacturer manufactured in a close time period in a mirror array because they can fail simultaneously after both achieving the mean time between failures for the current model or they just might have the same problem because of a faulty shipment. The two left hard drives mounted on the bottom in the ultra cheap case did not have cooling because there is just no space inside for a fan, so I drilled it like a boss to mount a cooler I found thrown away with tier cables in a network cabinet after cooling for years some networking equipment. So ungrateful. That's it, everything is assembled, all cables are connected. A motherboard Asrock B85 Pro4, Intel Pentium G3258, 12 gigs of system memory, 6 500GB 2.5-inch hard drives, shitty power supply and case, and a bunch of fans. I was admiring my creation on my way to power the beast up when I was distracted by Johnny Depp's future ex-wife. Anyway, quickly got back in track because I need to configure the system BIOS and proceed with right configuration. Da-da-da-down! And a question for $1,000,000. What do you do first on a G3258? Overclock it to at least 4G on air, of course. Drives, some Seagate, some Hitachi with Apple firmware. Told you about why I grouped them like that several minutes ago. Temperatures and voltages are bang on. You can calculate the power consumption of the hard drives. It is written on their labels. And as long as it is lower than the one provided by the power rail, you will be okay. With that done, let me show you a top secret cave sheet. I have hidden this right configuration as a top secret nuclear document. Everyone has nuclear weapons these days, so no one will find it here. I will be using software RAID arrays. On the Pro side, you can create RAID arrays on partitions, and you can move all drives on a different computer and it will work right away because the array information is written on the drives themselves. Cons: performance will be worse than on a hardware dedicated RAID controller, especially if it's battery cached, and you need to be careful with the boot partition. It should be in a mirror RAID, it will not work on RAID 10 for example. Also be careful on the drive types you're using, GPT or MBR, cause it is tricky. Since your boot partition is now mirrored on the 2 of the 6 drives, a reserved partition on the same physical space on the drive platters should be made on the other 4 drives to avoid problems. What else? Boot partition in a mirror config, 2 drives, 1000 GB in total, 500 GB usable, marked in purple, and 5400 RPM theoretical speed, marked in yellow. X in red marks how many drives can fail before we lose data in the current array configuration. Root and swap partitions, 6 drives in RAID 10 configuration, 3000 GB in total, 1500 GB available. Between 2 and 3 drives can die depending on the way the array is configured and where the drives stand in it. Theoretical speed is 16,200 RPM, and it's not necessary for the swap to be on a RAID array, but if it is on a single disk and it dies, there is a high chance that the operating system will behave not the way we expect. Last but not least, DataNode partition, RAID 0 here, pure striping, no fault tolerance at all, but we don't care because redundancy is taken care of the HDFS, I told you that in the beginning. So 3000 GB theoretically available here, excluding of course what has gone for the other partitions, and theoretical performance of, hold on to your spleen, 32,400 RPM. If such a thing ever existed, it would have blown the neighborhood to pieces. I want to record these things pulling and use it as a lullaby. And all the stuff I told you about shown here in 10 seconds after half a day spent in configuration. To sum everything up, that's the total I spent for this machine, zero always from the dumpster, but it would have costed me around 110 USD, which is nothing compared to what it will be used for. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's not the typical old school stuff I usually film, but this is what I do for a living, and this is where the money for this old school stuff is coming from. What can I say, capitalism? Tomorrow I will be going to the place I got 70% of the old school stuff I show you, and I will film it. Trust me, it is epic. It is going to be a 100 subscribers celebration video. As I told you, it's gonna be epic, and thank you guys for subscribing, it means a lot to me. I will also tell you how I get my other 30% of old school goodness. About this playlist, my garage data center will be next. I don't know when though. You know the drill. If you liked this video, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. If you liked it a lot, subscribe. And if you didn't, just tell me that I'm an idiot in the comments. Or you could just write whatever you like there. I usually try to reply fast. For now, Computer Caveman out. Stay safe. And if you see the white flash, duck and cover.